it's a very refreshing, despite everything that's happening, we are being driven to ruin again. What is this, the second or third cell phone company or internet company to screw me over? This deal with Metro PCS, they keep overbilling us and lying about stuff. And then when I complain, they just ignore me. The only reason I'm a Google reviewer at this point is, maybe I'll save somebody else. It'll help somebody else. They'll know what happened to me and they'll say, whoa, I'm not going to go to that place, or I'm going to make sure that they don't do anything to me. Yeah, they're trying to drive us to ruin. That way, despite me having compensation, I have to spend it all on my bills. So in the end, we have nothing at all. And they also know that soon I have to pay my rent because people people that, have lived in our past places or our current places, connected to Vista Villa or Premier Property Management or The Crossings or Autumn Ridge. They seem to talk among themselves. I'm on a VA voucher. And some people have even told me that they're told that, getting underneath my skin a little bit or bullying me or motivating me to pay my own rent is encouraged. Bullying me because I'm on a HUD-VASH voucher, bullying me. And then other people saying, well, I heard that, if vets get worse off, they give them more money. So in the end, you're going to make money. This is the kind of attitude that's going on. I will say the front office knows about it. There are myriad of people that have went through there, as long as we've lived here, they know. As far as the main office, which is in another state, Wisconsin, I can't speak for them because we get hacked so much. Sometimes I've tried to call there and my calls get blocked or knocked off the tower, or my phone gets hacked and shut down. That way I can't get through to them. So I can't speak for how much they know. They know at least a little, because one day when I went in and talked about some stuff going on, there was a couple of guys from Wisconsin, and they heard me telling them the kind of racist stuff that's going on here. And if looks could kill, the property manager at that time, the glare from those two guys, it would have cut her in half. But that's all I can speak of. But I don't even know if she's here anymore. They change people all the time. They change names. You got people that will change how they look. It's like living in a prison. People that change their hairdo, they change their makeup. The next day, instead of being named Sally, they're called Shelly. I mean, I'm sick of being around people like this. I am sick of it. And, I'm the kind of person that any kind of deception, I don't care what setting is, even in an ecclesiastic setting, if I see deception, I'm gone. I will burn a bridge and wash my hands. I don't like deception. I despise it. God hateth a liar. But anyway, that being said, besides all the stuff that they are doing to us right now to try to drive us into ruin, including, ruining our latest car, I found spoonfuls of gravel and sand inside my rear calipers and in my between my brake pad, the clip, and the rotor. So I know somebody put that in there, causing premature brake wear, maybe even damaging. I mean, I don't see any problem with the caliber. We are losing a little bit of fluid, and then also some of my lights are going off because I think the bushings Now, this car is designed with a certain margin, a range of variants for camber and caster. So your wheels can actually, I found this out when I was just researching my vehicle, reading more of the engineering stuff. So if those wheels are put out so you look like you're drag racing, the vehicle will be fine because it has a range that you can have that caster. No, it's camber. Yeah, that's camber. You can have that camber out a little bit and it will look like a drag racer. And it doesn't interfere with the function of the vehicle. Of course, if you have too much and you have a bumpy road, whether it's within range or not, that can cause you to break your control arms. So, it's you got two different sides to that particular sword. But anyway, when we bought the vehicle, I checked underneath. My brother checked underneath. It's every now and then we'll reconnect, sadly. That's all it is. But, we have a love for hybrid cars and engines and, all that kind of stuff. New engineering, diesels, gas hybrids. We like talking about that kind of stuff. So both of us looked it over, and when we got the vehicle, we were blessed. Somebody blessed us. The vehicle came from Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti area. Someone blessed us. That's what I believe. Because for so many particular things to fall into place for this to take place, and it's only had 2 owners, and the fact that somebody tried to hide the title so I didn't know who owned it, I believe this is a blessing. But somebody tried to mess with it. It sat back in the garage for 6 months. And the week it took me to get it, it was parked in the back of their garage. And when I saw people from Saginaw at the dealership, the dealer didn't know, but I knew. Somebody may have messed with the vehicle. Because of all the places to go, a random place off the, off of the, gosh, what road was it? Was it Lodge? No. I forgot. Anyway, I think it was Lodge. It was off Lodge, off the freeway. Of all the places, we're less than, 20 minutes, 25 minutes from downtown Detroit, or from near downtown. But anyway, so it was supposed to be a blessing. But anyway, so when we got the vehicle, there's almost nothing wrong with it. We ran the codes, so we knew the codes. We knew things were wrong with it, and there was a couple of things, but none of them were really major. One is a little bit more minor than the others, but and then all of a sudden started having noticing changes to my tires. The first thing they started to do where we live now is they started to let the air out of the back tires. Then it became all the tires. And then after it was that, then I noticed people or someone. Then I noticed they started messing with the putting nicks on the doors. They would open their doors so it would hit ours. Where did we go to then? Oh no, I forgot. The first couple weeks we had it, we were parking before the troublemakers in number 3 moved in. They've moved to a different building now. They rent 2 or 3 apartments, so every now and then she'll show up from Arkansas and make all kinds of trouble, her and her kid. But we've been dealing with this family for several years. But first I noticed people were taking knife to the bumper, like butcher knife. Once somebody took a serrated knife. You could tell because of the indents that it makes into the plastic. You could tell if it's a serrated edge or not. And you could tell by the size if it's a butcher knife or not. But somebody took a butcher knife to the bumper on a couple of occasions. I've already made a video showing how they used to pee on the car. I mean, their dogs would pee on the car. That stuff has been happening for a long time. But as far as the actual structural stuff, I noticed that after we started filling our air up with tire, that's when I noticed that somebody's messing with the tires. And then we lost the tire. It just blew for no reason at all. So we had a debacle with the with trying to get home, and then we had issues with the vehicle with the tow. What's it? I forgot the darn tow. Best towing. When he dropped, actually he prepped the car so my daughter could push the lever, but then he controlled the drop after she pushed the lever. And when it was dropped, and he stopped the drop, it was just enough so when he finished the drop, after getting it down there on the back, where the bumper is almost on the ground, the hook and the chain caught the front of the bumper and it ripped about 2 inches. 2 inches of the bottom of the bumper, which in that model of the C-Max has a lip. In your engine cover, the spill guard sits inside that lip. So it damaged the spill guard. It damaged the front bumper, like I said, about 2 inches. It's cracked, the bumper is. I looked at it, I said, "Oh," he just ignored it. And it was 11:30 at night, and I thought, oh, great, I don't want to get into some argument at this hour, because I know what the guy's going to say. He's going to say, oh, it was already there, or he's going to say, oh, it's not my fault. I'm like, I don't want to deal with it. It just took us 3 hours to come 10 miles because I had to limp home. We drove it, maybe 2 miles with foam, and then I kept putting air in. And in the end, when it was almost entirely flat, I think I drove about, gosh, I don't even know how far I drove, maybe 300 or 400 yards, when there was almost no air. So we got 4 new tires, and that's when I was getting the new tires, I was talking to the guys about how the tires don't look quite right. It doesn't quite look like the camber's right, and I'm pretty sure it's camber. I always get those two confused. But he's, if those who don't know camber and caster, I put it in the video before, your tire sits like this. And you have camber, which is when the tire sits like that, or like that. And then you have caster, where where it sits, I always forget this. Let's see, camber is when your vehicle is... Camber is when it's like this or like that. And then caster is when it's like this or like that. I think. Gosh, I always get that confused. Something simple like that. I guess I'm getting old. And I used to do tires in college too. Gosh, I always forget. Camber. Yeah. Camber is toe out or toe in. Anyway, It's your wheel not seated properly. Your tire and your wheel and your rotor not properly seated. Your axle. Well, I don't want to say axle. We'll just say your wheel hub and your rotor and your tire is not properly positioned. But anyway, so I talked to the guys, and then that's when he's like, you know what? He said, yeah. He said, I see that too. He said, show your control arms, maybe the bushings or the control arm itself. And I'm like, yeah, I thought, I was like, I didn't, think of that. I said, because, I didn't, well, first of all, this model has like several. There's 3 or 4 different pieces that go with the control arm assembly. And I mean, it's complicated. There's several pieces. And I thought it was a matter of the lug nuts. Maybe they're not seating properly when they're torqued in. And he's like, no, he retorqued them. And he's like, no, he said, it's not that. He's like, it's control arms. I'm like, okay, I believe you. Actually, I watched him when they torqued everything. And so I'm like, great. When I got it, this vehicle was fine. And it's the rear tires. Interesting, huh? We find gravel and sand and dirt inside of the wheel hub area where the brake caliper and the pads are. Somebody's letting the air out of the tires. And then all of a sudden the control arms and the bushings, something's going off. Interesting. It's all in the rear. And now it seems something's going wrong with my horn assembly too. I don't know why. Maybe water's getting in there. Oh, that's another thing. It appears that when he damaged the bumper and he, messed up the position of the under radiator spill guard, that somebody took out some of the plastic lug nuts on the spill guard. That way when we're driving, it just falls down. And then I dragged it and shredded it. Certainly, that happened because of the damage to the bumper, the underside of the bumper, it pulling the spill guard out of the lip and allowing the lip to actually move so the spill guard could fall down. But also, that engine spill guard shouldn't fall down so easily. These are designed very intentionally. And anyway, so that's what I think. Is that was messed with. But I don't have any proof about that. But as far as the stuff with the rear tires, I mean, that's pretty obvious. With the stuff with the brake pad, the sand, the control arm bushings, the air, it's pretty obvious. And, we don't have to put our in that much anymore. That's because we have a camera on them. And, more people are learning what's going on in here. The thing that I can't figure out that is generally in this side of town, most of the people that have had their vehicles messed with are white that I've known in the 2 complexes that I've lived in. But now every now and then you'll find like one black person. And the thing that I can't figure out is it the religion or the politics or something about that African American that their car was messed with, or is it just to cast dispersion? Somebody's like, oh yep, they're hitting everybody. That's the only thing I don't know, because I've known a couple of black vets who have been screwed with in Saginaw, and the thing that I can't figure out why they were targeted, that's the thing I don't know. I wish I did. That would answer a lot of questions. But they leave. I knew a good Air Force vet, him and his wife, when their car was damaged by a stray bullet, They were gone within 2 weeks. And I liked them. They were great people. He's a African-American Vietnam Air Force veteran during the Vietnam era. Um, they disappeared, so I could never talk to him about things. But then another guy disappeared because he kept getting kicked out of his brother's house because he would get targeted. He would be targeted by a housing agency or the landlord about something. He would get kicked out and evicted. He'd go to his brother, and then the same thing would happen, and his brother would be threatened and kicked out, so his brother would kick him out. And he's also a Vietnam era African-American Air Force veteran. Same thing happened to him. Eventually, we just didn't see him anymore because stuff kept happening. His brother had his son, who was a single dad, staying with him, trying to get on his feet, keep custody of his child. So, their situation is very delicate. So, he'd say to his brother, go stay with your buddies, So he kicked him out several times because of him being targeted and his family being threatened. Oh yeah, why do you got an extra person there? Your brother's not on your lease, stuff like that. But, so, if I could talk to those guys, I would get some questions answered. But anyway, so because of all this targeting and messing with the vehicle, actually them trying to ruin our life again, just do every area and every contingency. This has been going on now, I would say probably about a year and a half, the worst that we've seen. Actually, no, it's about 2 years. It started with when they destroyed our SOP. And nobody did a thing about it. Nothing. All of their cameras mounted on the buildings around and gates and this and that. Doesn't mean a thing. The thing I don't understand is if it, what their logic is. Why would you put a gate in when there's so many, when your fence could be scaled by an elementary kid, that's how low it is. And there's lots of different areas on the property that there's no gate at all. You just walk right in. And the property's surrounded by places where people can park a car and climb a fence. And the fence is broken anyway. Nobody was ever forced to use their code. And because they're using Wi-Fi, I said, if you're going to use Wi-Fi, you better make sure you have a very secure network. Of course, they didn't listen to me. Somebody hacked it and found it funny for one door on one gate on one side to be open and one gate on the other side to be open. So you got one door in, one half gate in, one half gate out. Stuff like that happening. Or people got the gate opening and closing all day. Because people hacked in because they didn't listen to me. They never do. Same reason why they use one network for their cameras. So, we have criminal hackers in here. They can hack into the building to building as often as they want. Because now they have free Wi-Fi. All they got to do is get up the name of the SSID and they have free Wi-Fi. They never listen to me. Never. And they just burn money. Just burn it. But, so, we didn't have a car off and on. We haven't went to liturgy in quite a while. Haven't went to Latin Rite, Roman Rite, or Byzantine, Ruthenian, in quite a while. So today made a good confession, assuming that everybody is who they say they are. I say that now. I even say it in the confessional. I'm like, people have sent me to fake priests. They find it funny. People have sent me to churches that are occasional use churches. I'll call this person or I'll call this agency or, go online to a fake website. And I went to talk to a priest before for confession. Priest had never said a word that they had been disrobed. Yeah. So I bring it to the confessional, every confession. I may be, and I've never seen an ordination certificate. I just have to vouch for people's honesty, but yet I have had people who are not honest. And they get their kicks and giggles out of it. But so I went to make a good confession, and I knew that I had to receive the Eucharist immediately. Either it was for, anointing of the sick, because my health sucks, and just starting to get my sugar under control. So I've been, I'm probably a week or two, every now and then I'll throw ketones. Sometimes I wonder if my insulin is really insulin. I really wonder. And
without you, all I have is circumstantial. That's not enough.
But so I received Eucharist very quickly. I don't know the next time I'll be able to receive it. In the end, this hurts us spiritually, but in other ways makes us stronger. But in other ways also, I feel like my daughter is missing out on a lot. She doesn't get the good Catholic upbringing, that I gave myself. I'm not saying I was saintly. It was a long process, my conversion. Long process. Still sometimes struggling. But sometimes celibacy is a struggle. In this part of Buena Vista, where we live, there are demonic strongholds. There's people here that appear to be Christian or say they are, but they are not. They are frauds. They have the devil in their heart. There is a demonic stronghold here. Specifically, the building where we live, there's spirits here. I believe there are. Explains the cold spots, explains the EBGB feelings, sometimes walking through a room. Explains a couple of times, felt like I was struck by somebody or brushed or even caressed. I hate to use that word. And there was nobody there. And I'm not somebody that's taken to flights of fancy or, gets stoned or drunk or creates, spins a yarn or has a robust fantasy life or hallucinates. That's not me. If I can't find any evidence to explain something, then the only thing left, according to Occam's razor, is the simplest explanation. Something that cannot be measured, quantified, or understood by my senses. But anyway, I have no doubt there's strongholds here. No doubt. My transition from married life to single life, I had made that transition until we came here. And then, the feelings of the empty bed, the physical, the missing for the physical touch, or the, having a wife, all of those feelings came back, where I had adjusted to a single celibate life before we came here. And I'm not saying I'm struggling, it's coming back, but now around the place where we live, I can see more and more demonic activity. I've always known there's a lot of bad people here. There's good people here too, but there's a lot of bad people. And there's a lot of fraud and deception. Like I said, I don't know if the owners know this, but boy, if their investors wanted somebody to write up what they had seen, they would probably drop their jaws with the things I've seen inside their investment property. And anyway, that being said, so it was really needed to go and receive the Eucharist. And I feel that my daughter suffers sometimes more than I do because she doesn't have that Catholic environment, you know. I'd love to be able to take her to a couple of different liturgies a month, you know, get her really exposed. But I mean, usually priests catch on, you know, cross our hands, walk up. Well, not me, but her. Cross her hands, approach, you know, in the communion line and get a blessing. Most of the time, rarely does anything happen. But I mean, today something did happen. I don't. Yeah, I didn't understand, Father. I don't know why he didn't drop the host and give her a blessing. We had to ask him after. I didn't understand that part. I don't know. I didn't understand that. And it really got to her, you know. It really bothered her. She took her hood up, pulled it over her head, and humiliated her. And, you know, like somebody that approaches who's in mortal sin, and the priest puts the host right there. No, you know, that kind of situation. I don't know why. I don't know why he didn't bless her. In the end, after when we were leaving, he blessed her. I asked for her, but I'd never experienced that. Yeah, it wasn't cool though. It wasn't cool. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's why, you know, sometimes when my Mennonite Quaker roots kick in, and I say something out of turn, you know, sometimes clergy might not like that. But my opinion is, if people can, you know, if people want to go for the grandiose liturgy, you know, have